Skarloey's Passengers. Despite his hiccup with the refreshment lady, Peter Sam was running the line well. Each night, he returned to the sheds bubbling with pride. "The fat controller called me a credit to the line today," he chortled. "And the refreshment lady is so pleased with all the passengers I bring, she's naming a beverage at her stand after me. Imagine that!" Although Peter Sam didn't intend it, his excitement made Skarloey feel left out. He missed the familiar faces of the passengers and was tired of sitting in the shed and Sir Handel's constant grumbling. "Please, sir," he said to Sir Topham Hatt the next day, "there must be something I can do to be useful." "We could take the empty trucks back to the quarry," suggested his driver. "Very well," conceded Sir Topham Hatt, "but it shall be strictly light work until we can have you mended." Skarloey was excited and told the others about it that night. "Humph," snorted Sir Handel. "You engines tire me with your eagerness." "Never mind him," chuckled Peter Sam. "I'm glad you can stretch your wheels again. But you'll have to leave early to make way for my passengers." "Don't you worry," smiled Skarloey. "We'll be clear of your train in good time." The next morning, Skarloey set off with some empty trucks and a van. He puffed slowly up the line as the sun rose in the sky. "Pace yourself, Skarloey," said his driver. "We've plenty of time." Skarloey was about to retort when he spotted a familiar figure near the line side. It was the refreshment lady. "Hello, missus," he smiled. "Is anything the matter?" "Oh, I'm glad to see you, Skarloey," she sighed. "My old bicycle has a flat tire, and I must get to the shop before Peter Sam's first train. Could I ride with you, please?" "Of course," replied Skarloey, "though we've only the van for you to ride in." "That's fine by me," she said, and climbed quickly aboard. With his passenger in tow, Skarloey's pace quickened, despite his driver's best efforts to hold him back. Before long, they reached the station by the lake. Skarloey was tired, but pleased. "Thank you ever so much," said the refreshment lady. "I'll tell everyone what a grand little engine you are." "No need for that, missus," panted Skarloey. "Just looking out for my passengers." What Skarloey hadn't accounted for was the refreshment lady's penchant for gossip. When Peter Sam's first train arrived, she told the passengers all about it. News soon spread, and each day, Skarloey found more passengers waiting along the line for him. Farmhands, quarrymen, and, of course, the refreshment lady. "Never mind," he chuckled to himself. "It's more convenient. I can handle a few passengers of my own." Unfortunately, the gossip spread to more than just the passengers. "One mistake with the refreshment lady, and you think I can't manage," fumed Peter Sam as he backed into the shed. Just looking out for your passengers, eh? There wouldn't be any passengers for you without me. Some thanks I get." Peter Sam shut his eyes and pretended to sleep. Skarloey hadn't meant to cause any offense, but all his rushing about left him too exhausted to reply. Peter Sam was still in a mood the next morning. His passengers, he muttered. The very nerve! With a thunderous whistle, he jerked the coaches out of the station. He found it hard to stay cross once the journey began. It was a beautiful day, and the coaches hummed happily behind him. Suddenly, he saw steam rising in the distance. "What on earth is that?" he thought. He didn't have to wonder for long. In the passing loop sat a very worn-out Skarloey, his ragtag group of passengers standing around him and the trucks. "Well, well," smiled Peter Sam. "Aren't we meant to get to the station before stopping?" Skarloey couldn't reply. He was out of breath. "Oh dear," frowned the refreshment lady. "I'm terribly sorry, Skarloey. I didn't mean to wear you down." "Never mind," soothed Peter Sam. "Perhaps it's time you rode a real passenger train again." The refreshment lady and the stranded passengers boarded the train, and Peter Sam hurried up the line. Everyone cheered when they reached the lake station on time, and the refreshment lady served a complimentary round of Peter Sam's punch as thanks. On his way home, Peter Sam stopped to fetch Skarloey and pushed him back to the shed. "Thank you for rescuing me, and our passengers," smiled the old engine. "You've been splendid. I'm sorry if I led you to believe otherwise." "I'm sorry too," replied Peter Sam. "I shouldn't have been so cross. I know you only want what's best for the people on our line." "How is an engine meant to rest with all this sentimental babble?" Sir Handel interrupted. "He's right, you know," winked Skarloey. "He needs all the rest he can get. The fat controller says he's taking my trucks tomorrow." Peter Sam and Skarloey guffawed loudly. Sir Handel seethed in silence.